Alright, so this thing is like super clean now. Got all the dirt off of it. And it is looking good. So I'm actually throwing these street tires back on today. I want to try to get one last street ride before it's time to put this thing up from street riding. Probably still off-road it unless it gets like unbearable cold, but yeah, so I'm gonna swap these on and hopefully I can get some more street riding clips for you guys. So. Alright, so getting this thing ready. You guys requested a dyno video, so I got something set up at my local Ducati dealership. Oh man, scrap is getting everywhere. So just prepping this thing, getting it ready for dyno. Putting some fresh Motul 300V in it. Just giving everything a once over. Make sure I got fresh fluid in it. Need to actually loosen the chain up a little bit. Let's see what else. Yeah, so we give everything a once over, and once the fluids are good, tire pressure is good, I'm actually load it up and head out to Ducati of Detroit. I have an appointment scheduled for 11, so kind of racing against the clock right now, so get all this stuff done and go from there. Alright, finally got everything loaded up. I gave everything a once over. See, I got the bike in the back. Actually on my way to pick up some E85 now, just to be on the safe side, and you should be ready to head to Ducati. Alright, so we finally made it up to Ducati. Get the bike unloaded and go from there. And this place is pretty sweet. You guys see the dyno in the window. Look at that. Yeah. These bows really do solidify the fact that it just makes you want to buy a bike.
So when we're tuning, there's multiple ways.
Yeah, I need to shorten that.
It would just suck to catch it on a, like, you gotta put your leg in it. So terrible place.
Sorry.
Yeah. So every combination has a little different tuning methodology.
13.5 to 1. Got that off.
So I kind of went through the bike with him, Jay.
This is a pretty sweet shot. Checking tire pressure.
If it actually doesn't need a more bigger pump and it works.
I'm just so optimistic. I don't know if it even makes.
It's gonna be like this.
Yeah, really, if it just doesn't break up, because sometimes at wide open it was. He changed the map, so hopefully it'll hold. It doesn't need a pump, but let's see.
Joe, where's Jay at?
I'm not sure. He's gonna do it with me.
What do you want from Ty?
Sorry. Commander 5. Oh, let's start it right up.
Stock 50 with the 70cc piston or the 70cc cam in it. It works great, but a little bit too much power for the white walls.
That's cool. Well, he's literally, they were talking and going through everything. They're expecting like 9 wheel.
Really?
50.
What does he have? Does he have the Takagawa?
Yep.
Really? The super head?
I'm not kidding, yes.
Oh, fuck.
Dude,
I've been looking at the crate motors. That's $8 grand for a crate motor.
He did actually say he has piecing the bike together. He has something 7+.
Yeah.
He has an aftermarket frame, too.
Really?
It has, can you have Termoni or whatever exhaust was? Or is it
No.
Yoshimura?
Yoshimura.
Maybe it's full Yoshimura.
Yoshimura is gonna make the exhaust for it.
It is a hot one, so that would make sense. It's cool. Whatever Will was saying, it should make power.
Okay.
There's some bizarre coil that system
Really?
that it uses. It's fucking literally a $350 coil from like Italy or something. Jeez. Did they already get one full? Like that over there or breaking up? Are they loading it, do you think? Are they staying loaded? Sitting there staying loaded?
Like two-step in the thing?
Literally does. I have a video of me two-step launching it at Silver Lake on a paddle tire.
It's going real rich at wide open, right? So we could pull, I mean, it's up to you.
Yeah.
We could pull some fuel out. It's definitely really rich here,
Mm-hmm.
but it goes see how it goes. It's pretty rich right here. I mean, if you wanted to, we could play around. It's just up to whatever you want to do, right? If you want us to play with it and change the air fuel ratio, right? It's definitely pretty rich.
Do you want
But-
to run the other map? Well, that doesn't matter.
I had to go grab more fuel.
Hey, let's go.
Hey. So we're finally dialing this thing in. It made like 70-ish horse, or 71 horse with literally no timing, and it has a super fat 10-to-1 air fuel ratio. So if you know anything about tuning, it's a lot of power on the table. So I'm gonna have them actually dial it in and get this thing running in tip-top shape. But yeah, I think we are making pretty good progress. So I'll probably actually end up leaving it up here for a couple days. But yeah, I'm just excited to actually get this thing dialed in. Alright, so as you guys can see, I got the bike back finally. So as of right now, it's making 70.5 horsepower. Kind of dying to get back a little bit, because when it was tuned, those of you that are familiar with these Yamaha YZ450s, I think the 250s might have this also, but we have this map switch right here, so you could basically change your tune on the fly. And when it was on the dyno, I initially set the map to where it was basically zeroed out timing and fueling wise, just so that we were starting from a clean slate. So I didn't have any aggressive ignition timing in it at all or anything, and just off the baseline pull it made 70.5 horsepower. And just to give you an example of how big of a difference the timing makes on this bike, when I first got it, I want to say the lowest set point for the preset tunes that they set up on this, I wasn't even able to do like a wheelie with the low set point with no timing in it. Like I was scratching my head on like why this bike was, you know, I expected it to be faster when I first got it, but then I learned about the whole power tuner thing, and I threw some timing in it, and it made a world of difference. But so yeah, like I said, it made 70.5 horsepower. That actually really exceeded my expectations, because I thought for sure that I was going to get this thing on the dyno, and a fluke was just going to happen to where it was making like less than stock horsepower. So and as of right now, I'm only about on 8 pounds or so. And like I said, like this setup really isn't fully revised. Like there's a lot of different improvements that I can make on this, one of which being this intake plenum right here. I don't know if this is fully sealing, but when we fabricated the plenum top for it, I actually, see if you guys can see that, there's actually a 1/4 inch MPT port right there. And basically what I was going to use this for is just as a pressure port to pressurize this intake plenum with the bike off, and I wanted to see if it would hold pressure, and that would basically tell me if it was sealing or not. So I haven't had a chance to do that yet, so that's one thing I want to check out while I have some free time. But yeah, so the plan is to actually take the bike back up to Ducati Detroit. Those guys up there are awesome. The tuner up there, Joe Stowell, he's really good to deal with. The way I understand it, though, is I believe their dyno is really temperamental to what the ambient air temp is outside. That's at least the way I understand it. So there was like a lot of downtime. So there were some days where it would dip down to the 20s and 30s here. So that definitely wasn't optimal. I'm not a dyno expert, so take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. But yeah, I'm really dying to get this thing back on the dyno with some aggressive ignition timing. I was actually able to order this fuel through Joe up there as well over at Ducati Detroit. This is basically a race spec E85, or ETS refers to it as Z85. So this is a really pure form of racing E85. That was the plan after the initial tuning was done with just pump E85, because just me personally, I'm not really big on race fuels because it's just not representative of what you're going to run it into when you're actually out driving. So realistically, you'll only actually be able to get pump E85 if you actually drive your bike on the street like I do. So like honestly, I don't even test my E85. I've ran it in cars before, never had a problem. I'm usually pretty good with sticking to certain stations if I get a good batch. I mean, realistically, anything above E50 and you're really good. I mean, from a technical standpoint. So the people that are sticklers with, you know, saying that they have to have, you know, specifically E85 with 85% ethanol content, that's the furthest thing from the truth. But yeah, so far I'm pretty happy with it. As you guys saw earlier in the video when I was talking to Joe on the dyno, there were a lot of rich spots in my tune, and that would actually explain why in some of my videos in the past you'd hear my bike like randomly break up or like fall on its face. So that's actually really interesting to me, because this whole time I was thinking that maybe I was running out of fuel pump, like I didn't have enough fuel capacity to actually turn this thing up. But it was actually quite the opposite. So I want to say like around 8 to 9,000 RPM, or it actually might have been lower than that, where the AFR was dipping down into the 9s, and that's like stupid low, like really rich. So I actually haven't driven the bike yet. This will be the first time I drive it today, so I'll probably put that in a separate video, or I'll probably just wait till I get down to Durham town, because those of you that follow me on Instagram know that I'm going out there this weekend with a friend of mine, Max. So yeah, if you see me down in Georgia at Durham town, feel free to stop by and chat or say what's up. But yeah, and I'm really curious to try this fuel. I haven't opened it yet, but it's supposed to be some pretty good stuff, so stay tuned. The dyno tuning really isn't fully complete yet. It's just I needed my bike back so I could, you know, do the whole Durham town thing, and I actually plan on taking it back up to Ducati, and we're going to finalize the tuning, because I really think we can get more power out of it. Didn't get a chance to run it with the tune that I'm normally driving on, which has a lot more aggressive ignition timing. So curious to try that with the cleaned up AFR table and see what it does. But all right, so one other thing I want to reiterate on is I think for sure we can get more power out of the bike. I do want to go over everything with a fine-tooth comb, but for the most part I think that's pretty decent, you know, when you really take into account for what's done to the bike. For the most part, the motor is pretty much stock, with the exception to like a forged piston. And yeah, it just gives me a little bit of closure that I know that you can actually boost one of these and it works. This turbo that I have, I actually think is a little bit too small for what I'm doing, primarily on the exhaust side. So I do want to keep hammering away at this setup, because I think we can get more power out of it. but it just gives me a little bit of comfort with you know, maybe upgrading to like a Garrett turbo down the line, because I really don't have a lot of money invested in this setup. The hot side I built, like, you know, at home. I got less than 80 bucks in that hot side. The turbo is just a literally a takeoff unit from a Ford EcoBoost vehicle, and everything else is pretty much made by hand by me. All of this piping is cheap. But like I said, I want to get this thing back up to Ducati. I want to make a few runs with the aggressive ignition timing. And then I can't wait to try out this fuel from ETS. Yeah, so that's just something I want to make sure my viewers understand. This whole setup was really a shot in the dark. So, I mean, I went there with the intentions of this thing making less than stock horsepower, so so I was kind of shocked. Yeah, so this build was really more so of a precursor turbo build, per se, because I just wanted to see if this setup would actually work, or if it would actually make boost and actually function how it normally would on like a, you know, your normal passenger car. So, I already got a new setup in mind. I probably won't act on that until like snow hits the ground. I mean, it's December now, but you know, as you can see, we really don't have any snow. We've been having some decent days here and there, so I want to try to ride it and improve upon this setup as much as possible before I tear it apart. But yeah, just stay tuned and be on the lookout for more content.